and social slime, they don't matter. Genocide, sick from water, sick from air. Making money, they don't care. Caesar shit, force of air. Fuck them back, it's only for they bomb. They shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape. They burn the kids. No one lives countries. Lie to your face, fight and die. Cause God forgives. Selling lies and buying time, killing people next in line. Lower class and social side, they don't matter. Genocide, sick from water, sick from air. Making money, they don't care. See their shit, force of bear. Fuck them back, that's only fair. They bomb, they shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape. They burn the kids. No one leaves countries. Lie to your face, fight and die. Cause God forgives. Yeah. Coming back around again.
Welcome to the show. This is Game On. I'm your host, Ron Stevens. This is, are you ready for it? December 1, 2015. So we're getting closer to the end of the year. And then we will have a very interesting year next year. I'm absolutely certain of that. I had an interesting conversation with a guy today. I was looking out my window, and I saw a guy out in the yard up at my other house, and he had some kind of a gauge on a stick or something. He was staring at the hydro pole that's actually on the property. And so I went out to see the guy. And this is what really drives me nuts about people in general. And I get it, because they got bills to pay. I get that part. But, you know, when they talk about useful idiots, when you look at the big picture, there's very few that aren't useful idiots. I mean, very few. Because everybody's so tangled up in this system that they just doing what they're told to do because they got to pay their bills at the end of the month. And so I go to see this guy in the yard and ask him what he's doing. And he's a contractor. Or he works for a contracting outfit that has been contracted by my local electricity distributor, who is all part and parcel of a large fraud here in Ontario, which is basically Enron North now. And, you know, when Enron collapsed, it didn't mean the programs didn't keep moving forward. And they have. I mean, Enron was big in wind and gas. Wind, what is there to make people wealthy and also create carbon credits. That's the only two purposes for the renewable energy industry. It has nothing to do with saving the planet. Never did. Doesn't mention anything about saving the planet in their documents. It's about cash flow out of your pocket into their pocket and the creation of carbon credits. So I'm talking to this guy, asking what he's doing, and he's locating the pole. And I said, well, that ain't hard. It's right there. There we located the pole. Pole's been there for probably 20 years or better, 25, 30, 40 years. I don't know. It's been there quite a while. It's not a pole out at the road. It's a pole actually on the property. And so he's locating it and marking its coordinates down. And I'm saying, like, doesn't the distributor know where the frickin' poles are? Well, yeah, but we have to have them exact. And this one's out by like 5 feet. 5 feet from what, I say? He says, well, they Google mapped everything, and now we have to get pinpointed, right? We have to absolutely have it exact. Now, why that is, I'm not exactly sure. He didn't seem to know exactly why. He was just doing it because he was getting paid to do it. Now, I suppose I could have asked him for identification and stuff and chucked him off the property because, this whole idea of property is a abstract concept, and it's a bundle of rights, and the utilities in that have rights to your property. But he ain't the utility. He's a contractor with a company out of Toronto. But I had a very interesting conversation with this guy. His name's Daryl, and I've never met a Daryl yet that wasn't a decent guy. And we had a really interesting conversation about the hydro system here and everywhere, because everywhere is subject to the same United Nations bull crap, because all countries are member states of it. And so he knew exactly the scam that's going on. He didn't really know the Enron hook, but he did know that when Morris Strong, did I say Morris Strong died? Anyways, when Morris Strong was brought into Ontario to reorganize, it was called Ontario Hydro, to make it more competitive and get some competition in. And what he really did was come in here and destroy it and internationalize it. And that's the whole ball game. Everything's being internationalized. So when I'm talking to Daryl, he understands you can't conserve electricity. He gets that. The linesmen I talk to get that. The engineers I talk to get that. But the propaganda that you see in your newspapers and hear across your radio and see on the TV tells you to conserve electricity. It's an impossibility. Absolutely impossible to conserve electricity. You got really two choices: make it and use it, or don't make it and don't use it. But if you make it and don't use it, it dissipates, so it's gone. So this idea of conserving electricity is a crock of nonsense. But then the whole system's a crock of nonsense. Everything that ever come out of the mouths of the guys that started the UN is a crock of nonsense. Every single frickin' word from the very beginning of, oh boy, we now have the United Nations and we have countries signed on and it will be a peaceful world because we've designed this so that if anybody gets uppity anywhere on the planet and decides to cause a war or participate in a war, then we will come and explain to them that if they do this, we're going to smuck them. And, of course, none of that was true. It was set up by the guys that start the frickin' wars. So if you believe that the guys who start the wars are going to stop the wars, you don't understand the United Nations or the people that formed the damn thing. Anyways, back to Daryl. We're talking, and I told him about this conservation thing, and he says, yeah. He said, that's all price pointed. Exactly, and it's all in the paperwork. These distributors must show a decrease. This is a licensing agreement. They must show a decrease in the amount of electricity they distribute each term of their contract, and if they fail to show a lower distribution, then they're at risk of losing their little money hole. So they do whatever they can to propagandize that you need to use less electricity, and that means selling you mercury-filled light bulbs and every other damn thing, which has nothing to do with anything. So, Daryl gets the idea. He gets not the idea, the fact that we here in Ontario are selling, I think it was $1 billion last year, but we're not selling electricity. On this idea of more strong as the internationalization of energy, what we're doing is we're paying New York State and others to take the excess power that we have. We're producing way more power than we need, and we got to get rid of it somehow. So you can't drive it all into the ground because that's causing trouble all over the place as it is. So they have to get rid of it. So they're not. We're paying these industrial wind companies for every bit of energy, every bit of electricity that they produce, whether or not it gets used anywhere. An awful pile of it's being dumped into the ground. And what can't be dumped into the ground is they call it sold to other jurisdictions, but in fact we're paying other jurisdictions. I think it was to the tune of $1 billion or $1 billion plus last year, that we paid, you, the taxpayer, paid other jurisdictions to take this excess power off our hands because they don't need it. Now, meanwhile, their people probably shutting down plants because there's just too much electricity flying around. So they just keep producing what they don't have any use for, and then you, the taxpayer, pay these clowns that put up the wind turbines. Okay, you pay these clowns that put up the solar panels all over the place. I'm not talking about one on your house. I'm talking about this industrial scale shit. Okay, total incomplete fraud. So you're paying for that out of your pocket. That drives up your hydro rate way up. I mean, way, way up, and we got another increase coming. Meanwhile, you're also paying for other jurisdictions to take the excess power off your hands. So you're paying. Plus, these stupid things are producing carbon credits, which is all about the carbon trading scam. So that the jurisdictions like Ontario and anywhere else that has a ton of windmills and solar panels can say that because here in Ontario, at least, the government retains all of the carbon credits, other jurisdictions split it between the company that put the damn things up and the government. It's not really a government; it's actually a corporation posing as a government. That's a fact. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You don't have a government. You've got a corporate system that you're subject to that is posing as your government. That is a deception, and that is a fraud, and that is against the law. Deception is fraud. So your government's a fraud, okay? And they're picking you clean, okay? This corporation called government is picking your bones. And we need to get that through our heads. It's not really any different than what they did in Russia when they picked the bones of the farmers. The very people that produced the food were made to starve to death. And that's kind of what they're doing here. They're starving you out. They're picking your pockets. Okay, every year, fewer and fewer people can afford to heat their frickin' homes. You got more and more people going to food banks. You got more and more homeless people. What the hell does it take before people go, what the hell's going on? I need to know. So when I'm talking to Daryl, nice guy, he has a place up north of here somewhere, and it was going to cost him a frickin' fortune for him to put in a sewer system that they wanted. And so he just put in a composting toilet. And now the bank doesn't even recognize his place as a home because it's not on the water sewer hydro grid. So it's not recognized as anything he can borrow money against. And so on the one hand, they're telling you to conserve and buy all of this nonsense they're selling, which keeps the factories in China humming right along. So you're building wind turbines and solar panels Using what for an energy source to build them? Are you using wind and solar to build wind and solar? No, you're using coal plants over in China without any stacks on it. Yeah, it's a wonderful scam. But anyways, this kind of threw me. I'm talking to Daryl, and I said, and I've used this scenario before. This idea that you have to distribute less. Well, then if I'm distributing less, then we're not as competitive. And how do we keep the shareholders happy? So I used to use this, and I won't be using it anymore, I guess, because I've been corrected by Daryl. Okay, I got a call coming in here. I'll see. Maybe it's Daryl. Hey, who knows? Hi, how you doing?
Hey.
Hey, right back at you. Who am I talking to?
You're not Ron, are you?
I was when I woke up this morning. Let me check.
You're talking on air?
As far as I know, I are.
Okay, I would like to talk to you about the relative costs of local developed energy and the cost of paying for aircraft carriers and submarines.
Where are you calling from?
I was listening to. Is this a podcast or is it live?
Oh, this is live. But where are you calling from?
Oregon.
Oregon. Well, that's wonderful. Wonderful. So you guys going to fence around Oregon to keep the rest of them out, or what? I'm serious.
My question is, do you believe that eventually there will be a greater return on investment by making sure there is a local distributed energy creation? Solar panels on every roof and windmills and hydro versus running overseas and spending $1 gazillion on protecting oil resources. I mean, come on. The energy wars are costing us trillions of dollars. If that were to be put into domestic energy production local, do you not suppose that would solve a lot of problems?
Well, first of all, there's no local. Okay.
Bullshit.
No, there is no local anymore. There is
local energy. We have local hydro here. We have local solar. Your roof is local, right? This is called distributed energy. Distributed energy.
Well,
production.
we have a distributed energy system here where I am, and that distributed energy system is a template that came from Enron.
Do you have solar up there?
Oh, we got lots of solar here.
That's a waste in Canada. That's ridiculous. How can anybody invest in solar in Canada? Solar should be, you need hydro up there and wind.
Well, no,
hydro and wind.
We definitely don't need wind.
Bullshit.
No bullshit.
Come on, why not?
Gotcha. Right?
You don't have wind? You don't have wind up there?
We're tripping over windmills up here, and people are getting ready to blast the damn things out of the ground. You're talking about two totally different animals here. One is the international energy system, which is what everybody's running under now, and you're talking about local energy systems.
Well, there's local windmills too. You know that.
All energy is controlled from the international level. All.
Bullshit! Now I'm calling you here, right now.
Please
I can listen to me. I can buy for $10,000 enough solar panels to put on my roof, and I can buy for $4,000 thing, but I can't get investment for it, and I can't hook it up to the grid. Now, why is that? I still have to buy my energy. And
That's
do you
right.
suppose that...
As I just told you, it's all been internationalized. They're spewing out their mouths on the one hand that everybody should go green, and on the other hand, if you try to go green, you're going to get slapped.
Nothing to do with
Whoa. Where about, what, are you in a big town in Oregon, a little town in Oregon, out in the rural area? Where the hell are you?
I live in Eugene.
Eugene.
Right outside of Eugene. I lived in Salt Lake City. I lived all over the country in the West.
How big is Eugene?
Everywhere.
How big is Eugene?
Oh, I guess if you would consider the greater metropolitan area where I live, it would be 120,000 people. However, listen, let me finish.
Uh-huh.
We have the cheapest hydroelectric rates probably anywhere in the country here.
Uh-huh.
All right?
Okay.
So this is a perfect place for this.
The cheapest
perfect place for this. But I lived in Utah too, and they have hundreds and hundreds of miles of desert that has nothing in there, and they would be ideal for solar, which would be local. Why don't they do it?
Because they don't have control of it.
Who? Who is the they that don't have control of it? What you're talking about
Utah doesn't have control of it. Okay.
Oh, man, are you kidding me? They're talking about putting a damn nuclear power station in Utah.
What's your first name?
My name is Mike.
Mike. All right, Mike. Let me.
I've got to argue with you about this. You continually say that solar, and you continually say that wind is useless. I say wrong. They are very viable in certain areas where they belong. Now, maybe up where you belong, tar sands and bituminous coal is great.
Well, the tar sands is like 2,500 miles from me, so I'm nowhere near the tar sands. Ontario.
So hydroelectric is good for you. Where you are, you got all that water power.
Let me explain this to you quickly. Ontario had some of the least expensive electricity on the planet because of our abundance of hydroelectricity. So we had everybody was envious of our prices here, which gave us we were the manufacturing hub in Canada because of our electricity rates and our population and our access to markets and that. But with the new structuring, which is based on the Enron structuring and the international structuring, and Morris Strong, who wrote a book called The Internationalization. Well, he didn't write he actually, it was a woman who was in charge of renewable energy, who I spent a long time talking with some years back when they first started bringing this wind solar crap in. And she, I found that she actually wrote a manual called The Internationalization of Energy under the guidance of one Morris Strong. And then it was full of Enron lobbyists and that who put this scam together here. So, but the fact, what I'm trying to get at, Mike, is that your mayor, your city council in Eugene, Oregon, have their heads up the ass of the United Nations. Every state is a member state of the UN. Every country, so-called country, the United Nations, or the United States is a member state of the United Nations and does the bidding of the United Nations. So it's not a question of oil, and it's not a question of windmills, and it's not a question of hydroelectric. It's a question of who controls it. Okay, so the same guys, I get people all the time bitching about, well, isn't wind and solar better than oil? Well, the same guys run it.
Well, wait.
The same guys run it. So
I'm going to interrupt here, just for right now. I was talking about local, at your
I'm
house.
Trying to tell you,
same guys, the same guys cannot run. They cannot tell you how much energy to get off your roof. They cannot tell you how much energy to get off your windmill, and they cannot tell you how much energy to get off your microhydro. You understand that? So my point is, you keep saying that these technologies are useless because somebody else controls them, and what I'm saying is those technologies are perfectly valuable as long as you control them. Do you understand the difference?
But you don't control it, Mike.
Of course I do. If it's my
Okay.
Are you bullshitting me? Really?
Okay.
If it's on my roof,
Tell me, Mike.
if it's on my roof and I own this piece of property, and if I own the windmill and I produce the electricity for my house, I don't own it.
You don't own a piece of property.
Okay. We'll go. You were going to go that far. You're going to go that far. You're going to say I might as well not improve what I have simply because I do not own it.
That's not what I'm saying. Okay, let's.
Are you going to tell me that?
Hey, whoa.
That's just that's a non sequitur.
Non sequitur. Mike.
Well, okay, wait. You're going to tell me though that somebody else owns the energy production that I produce off my roof.
Now, what are you using for your electricity to power your house right now?
We're using hydroelectric 100% exclusively.
Okay, so you're not powering your house and then you're not powering your house with solar. So what the hell are you?
I would like to. I'm not arguing about what I'm doing. I'm talking about the principle that distributed energy on each rooftop would take away the thing that can control what you do.
But they own your property. You don't own.
Oh, well, then, if you're going to go there, you might as well just not even fucking bother to live and just shoot yourself, right?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Oh, yeah. Then why don't you just improve your property? You have 30 years on it, and you're going to pay for it, and you get rid of that grid. And just at least, you know what? This is like cutting the jugular off. Because you know what, you would own everybody would own their property if they were to be completely self-sufficient, because then they wouldn't be supporting the industrial energy machine, right? Why would anybody need the government to do it for you?
Who owns the land your house is sitting on, Mike?
Well, let's see. I probably have to go through 4 leases. I probably have to go through 10 tax things and find out who actually owned it. But the point is, I would own the energy. I would own the energy producing equipment, and regardless, I could just
yammering take it away. And you're not going to, you cannot deal with certain. I don't know why you can't.
Energy producing. Oh, come on, man, you're just hopeless then, because you really believe that we have to give up regardless to the oil energy and our superiors, rather than buy our own energy equipment and if you don't own the property, fine, move.
I don't have a problem with that at all. That's where you're losing it. I don't have a problem with that.
So why do you always hack on solar and wind?
Well,
it gets me. Why do you hack on it?
You're telling me that Oregon has the cheapest hydroelectric in the United States, right?
No, I said nearly the cheapest that I've seen.
All right. So
I haven't looked there's like 50 states here, and a lot of big places.
Whatever. But the fact is that you power the state mostly with hydroelectric, yeah?
I don't. No, that is the way it is powered.
You live in the state.
I don't power it. Are you kidding me? This is the way it is. There is other ways it could be done.
Well, then, Mike, I tell you what. You go put solar panels on your roof, and you go put a windmill in your yard, and then 6 months after you've done that, call back in and tell me how it's working out for you. Because otherwise,
well, unfortunately, I don't have. This is the difference.
Well, then okay, let me
get to the point. The point is the government will give tax breaks and will give financing to large-scale energy production stuff, but they would not do that to an individual person, because it will take control away from the large corporations. So it would just be just as easy to put solar power panels on everybody's roof as it would be to create a new gas-burning plant. But they won't do it simply because that takes their power away from them.
So you do it.
I can't afford to do it. But if I had the same financing that the rich guys had, and behind them, we could do it all over the place.
No sense. Call me back when you get it all together, and we'll discuss it.
Okay.
Right now,
well, look,
have a good one. Bye, Mikey. Jesus, Lord Almighty. And that's a problem. Okay. I don't know if he's listening to the show or not, but before he called in, but that's a classic case of I call that's almost like a new ager to me, right? We just want to be green and everything will be wonderful. Dealing with no realities whatsoever, wanting to argue some silly points that don't exist. And that's unfortunate because that to me is almost like a useful idiot. You're spewing off this stuff. Now, granted, can you live off grid? Certainly. It's a lot more work. So do you want to live off grid? What we need to do is take control of our nations again. Okay? That's what has to happen. Now, it doesn't matter what you use to create electricity with. Okay? If you're going to put all of Oregon on wind and solar, you're going to find your cost point is going to be pretty frickin' heavy duty. Why, I used this scenario before, when Ontario Hydro was first formed, long time ago. And it was a monopoly. And it was a state monopoly. And what they had was exactly what Mike's talking about, except it wasn't wind and solar. It was you had local outfits. This is before these provinces and states took complete control of everything. So when the settlers came in and they needed a grist mill, they built one. When they got electricity figured out, they used to use windmills to power with. When the electricity came in, it was too expensive to run the lines out into the rural areas to the farms. So the farms back then were using generators on windmills to power up batteries, to light the barns and that. I mean, it's definitely not a new technology. But is it a technology that you can run an entire grid on? Absolutely not. Not at a price point that anybody's ever going to be able to afford. So what they did here in Ontario and pretty much everywhere else is that so this town here has a little electric plant, hydroelectric off a river, and this one has a little one over here, and this one has one. So what they figured out was that if we just, because if you're running this size line here and that size line there and this size line over here or this kind of generator here or this kind of generator, how are we going to hook all this crap together? Okay, how are we going to hook this up? So the province took it over as a monopoly. And unfortunately, I didn't know at the time that the province is a corporation. So it became a monopoly corporation, a crown corporation, which is a queen's corporation, to streamline the production of and the distribution of electricity in order to drive the price down, to hold the price low in order to encourage industry. So that point of an electrical grid is fine as long as it's kept honest. The dishonest part is what the oil guys, because it is the oil guys, hooked up with, all these guys, the bankers, the lawyers, the warmongers, those are the guys that started the wars. Those are the guys that started the United Nations. Those are the guys that want world government. Those guys want control over every resource on the planet, And that's exactly what they're doing. They want you to use less electricity, not because we don't have electricity or it can't be produced cleanly. This idea that you have to use solar and wind, which at best are intermittent. The coal plants, and I've been through that with the senior policy advisor of the Minister of Energy. I'm not sitting in friggin' Oregon blabbing away about, oh, can we all be green? Okay? I talk to these people. I study their documents. I study the engineering documents. And I would like Mikey, if Mikey's still listening, go to my blog, Mike, and punch in replacement for coal plants. Just type that in the search engine. That should bring it up. And it's quite a lengthy document by it's called Options for Replacement of Coal in Ontario. That's what it's called. Look that up and go through that document. And this was written way back, I think, in 2004 maybe, when they were really starting to ramp up the idea of wind here in Ontario, which didn't come from Ontario. This stuff has all been implanted. It's been implanted into Mike's head and apparently stuck there. And I'm not picking at you, Mike, if you're listening. You just ain't got your head straight yet. So go read that document, Options for the Replacement of Coal in Ontario, and just go to canadiantruths.wordpress.com and punch it in there. Now, I spoke with that engineer at the University of Ottawa, had a very nice chat with him. I spoke with the Senior Policy Advisor for the Minister of Energy, which took me 3 months to get to because you can't just call these people up. So I'm very diligent at what I'm doing. And after a long conversation with the Senior Policy Advisor, he agreed that what I had to say was absolutely correct. That what we needed to do here in Ontario, other than upgrade our neutrals, because the neutral lines in Ontario are less than half the size they should be, and those are there to balance the loads, which is causing all kinds of trouble here in Ontario. There's so much of this electricity being produced by the windmills is being jammed into the ground, because if they don't jam it in the ground, it'll blow the whole system out. And that electricity being dumped into the grounds off the ground rods is ending up in people's barns and houses out in the countryside and making the animals crazy. And I know farmers have been driven off their land because of it. But hey, let's all just go green. But I was in a meeting with engineers, and they say that the biggest problem we have here is, again, the neutrals on the lines are way, way, way too small. But then they weren't designed to handle intermittent power. But anyways, when I talked to the Senior Policy Advisor, I said, I looked at this and I've studied it, and this whole idea of using intermittent power is stupid to run a grid. And now, if you want to go and put a windmill on your lawn and a solar panel on your roof, fill your boots. I don't have a problem with that. Never did have a problem with that. But trying to run a grid with it is lunacy. But then it's not supposed to work. Okay? It's not supposed to work. It's just a way to bleed the people. That's all it is. We have more energy than we know what to do with in North America. There is absolutely no shortage of energy. There's nothing wrong with the coal plants. Put the damn scrubbers on the coal plants and you've solved any pollution problem. But as the Senior Policy Advisor said, the only thing it won't stop is CO2. And that's the gas that they've turned into this evil gas. This gas that is heating up the planet, which it's not. They can't find any evidence of it, but that doesn't stop the propaganda. Okay? Constant, unrelenting propaganda becomes truth if you let it. So there's no problem using coal. Just put the damn scrubbers on the coal plants. You'll stop you'll stop everything but CO2. And CO2 is not a pollutant. They even said in Ontario here, the reason they didn't put the scrubbers on the coal plants, and the government agreed that putting on the scrubbers on the coal plants would have stopped the emissions. But then they went on to say the reason we didn't put the scrubbers on is because it won't stop CO2. And what gas was picked as the evil gas? CO2. They turned an inert life gas, of which this planet cannot survive without, into this terrorist gas, if you will. You know, CO2 is causing terror everywhere on the planet. Well, it's all about the depopulation program, folks. What do you exhale? CO2. What does the Club of Rome said? Therefore, humanity is the enemy. Okay? You're the frickin' enemy. You're the enemy. Because everything we do is connected to CO2 or carbon. Everything we do is connected to carbon. But you see, it was a wonderful system. And it's still a wonderful system, but they've turned it into some kind of a psychotic, sociopathic message that they have now, that CO2 is bad. Well, the system works like this. The vegetation, the trees, breathe. They breathe CO2. They exhale oxygen. We inhale oxygen and exhale CO2. So the vegetation is happy and we're happy and we have a nice world to live in until these nutcases decide that what we exhale. So you can say, next time somebody says plant a tree or something, you figure out how ludicrous this is.
I looked at it this afternoon too.
How ludicrous this is that they're telling you to plant trees because trees suck up CO2, right? Trees suck up CO2. And they tell you that CO2 is a bad gas. But what are the trees exhaling? Oxygen. Now they're telling you oxygen's a bad gas? Because we inhale oxygen and exhale CO2. Then you stir in some greed. Absolutely. This is all about greed. The wars are about greed. It's all about greed, always has been about greed. And let's see here. Let's run over here for a minute. I just want to finish up. That kind of got me pissed off and sidetracked. I don't get pissed off too much, but I was talking to some other jackass today about Muslim immigrants, and he didn't get what the hell was going on with that either. And we'll get into bigger detail on that later on, but not today. So I really didn't need two in one day. And I don't have a problem with Mike, and I don't have a problem with the guy that thinks Muslim immigrants is good either. These guys just got to get tuned in. They got to get deprogrammed. They've been suckered. They've been cultified, and their brains ain't working right. So we have to keep working on these people. But anyways, this is back to Daryl, and I told him about this distributing less. Now I said if Coca-Cola, and I've said this before on the show, if Coca, the CEO of Coca-Cola or McDonald's or anybody called in the board and said, boys, I've been thinking about this and I got a plan. And they all sit there looking at the boss, going, boss has got a plan. This is brilliant. Smart guy, the boss. And the boss says this, we're going to distribute less of our product. At which point everybody sitting on the board goes, what the hell did he just say? I think he said we're going to distribute less. That's what I thought he said. Has he lost his frickin' mind? And the point is that the electricity system, the more you so-called conserve, the more of these LED lights, the more of these mercury-filled lights that you put in your home, the more that you don't turn on your hot water, the more that you don't turn on your oven, okay, and you're going, we're conserving electricity. What you're doing is driving the rates up, okay, because it works like this. It's a business. We have shareholders. We have investors. We promise them a return on their investment. Well, if you keep using less of the product, how do we get the return on the investment? Simple. We have to put the price up, and that's what's going on. So the more you conserve, the higher your electricity price is going to go, and that is in the documents. Same thing's about to happen to water. If it already isn't happening in your neck of the woods, it's coming. Same as your sewer usage, it's coming. And this will all be privatized, and they are going to drive you into the ground if we don't put a stop to this. But when I was telling Daryl this about Coca-Cola or McDonald's, he says, well, they're already doing it. Well, I don't eat at McDonald's and I don't drink Coca-Cola, so I wouldn't know what their price points were or are or are expected to be. But Daryl, he's a big boy. He apparently drinks Coke and eats at McDonald's and stuff. Nice guy, though. But he said Coke's already doing that. I said, what are you talking about? He said, well, the cans are getting smaller. And I said, so they're selling you less for the same price. He said, no, actually, they're raising the price. Okay, so now we have this template that's being used. Same thing's going to happen with your food. They don't want you eating meat because it wastes all this water to make an ounce of beef. And we can't have that. So, your portions are going to get smaller, your price points are going to go higher, your wages are going to go lower, your taxes are going to go up, and you are going to be a third frickin' world. And that's what they want. Okay? It's a race to the frickin' bottom. And so we need to come to grips with that and do something about it. Anyway, I saw back here, I find this interesting. I got to back up on this chat here for a second. Let's see. Somebody, I think, asked somewhere in here, I think it said, what is my take on cannabis or something? Oh, here it is. What is Ron's take on cannabis? Well, you can take it pretty much anywhere with you if you have a truck. And if you don't have a truck, well, you can always take it with you in your pocket. Put it in your lunchbox. So, if that's what you're talking about, what is my take on cannabis, you can take it pretty much anywhere you want. My take on cannabis is like this. I smoked enough of this shit when I was young. We made Cheech and Chong look like children. In fact, I was a kid during the Cheech and Chong era, or before. No, I was a kid before the Cheech and Chong stuff come along, really. And yes, you can take several packages of papers and glue them all together and make a doobie that would make the Jolly Green Giant blush. And so cannabis is good for you. I haven't smoked a joint in a very, very long time. I don't really, I had fun with it. Smoked a lot of it. And personally, I thought it puts me to sleep, is what it does now. I used to have a hoot, but it just makes me really lethargic. And I don't wish to be lethargic, so I have really no need for cannabis. But having said that, what's my take on cannabis in about 5 or so minutes that we have left? My take on cannabis is this. Okay, I am sick and freaking tired of people being hoes. I don't get people. Oh, wait, they're going to legalize marijuana for us. Well, has everybody gone stupid? Why would you want marijuana legalized? Why in the hell would anybody want marijuana legalized? So you can pay high taxes? Because that's all that's going to happen. They're going to legalize marijuana so the government, the corporation posing as government, the same corporation posing as government that made it illegal in order to help out their friends, the cotton farmers and whatnot, so they didn't have to compete with hemp, who made it illegal, who destroyed, probably, I'm being conservative here, millions of lives for people who had a joint. I mean, when I was a kid, teenager, a long time ago, you could get some pretty stiff jail time for a few joints. And that pissed me off then, and it still pisses me off now. But what really pisses me off is the same people who may have been thrown in jail or heavily fined way back in the day. A lot of those are the same people today going, oh boy, they're going to legalize marijuana. Are you that freaking stupid? Look, here's the deal. Here's the deal. If you want cannabis or a joint, grow that damn thing. You see, the government corporation makes rules and regulations for the benefit of the government corporation and its friends and investors. And they always got your hand in your pocket. How is it that marijuana was such a evil, evil, evil drug, a gateway drug? If you smoke a joint, you're going to be a heroin addict before the week is out. Kind of bullcrap propaganda. We live by propaganda. I mean, not only do we breathe propaganda, we exhale propaganda when we speak to people. Because people are busy, just like Mike when he called in. He's just regurgitating their damn propaganda. This is our land. We were given dominion over this land, not some corporation posing as a government. Okay? This idea of we can make this illegal today and make it legal tomorrow. I mean, just give that a little bit of thought. Been illegal since when did they make weed illegal? Way back in when the hell was it? It was a long, long, long time ago. And then the government corporation, who imported all the drugs? Who imported all the drugs? Same people who kicked up the hippie movement, the corporation posing as a government in order to bring change, chaos. Same guys that started the wars, same guys that started the Vietnam War. They're the same guys that made cannabis illegal. Now they see it to their benefit to make it legal. Not your benefit, their benefit. So now it's going to be legal to smoke marijuana and to buy marijuana if you buy it from the government. But, God forbid, you should grow your own. Well, that would be illegal. Now give that some thought. Okay? It is time. It is absolutely time that we stand up, say no, and mean it. Or we might as well move to Syria, or to Iraq, or to Palestine, or to any of these multitude of African nations who have been decimated by these sons of bitches who say, you know what, we're going to legalize marijuana for you because we love you. I mean, give me a friggin' break. You know, I got to get Rick Simpson back on the show. I don't think I've ever had him on UCY. I like Rick. I like Rick a lot. He's a fellow Canadian. He's moved out of Canada. He said he ain't coming back. They got raided so many times and buggered over so many times, and he's seen so many of his people hurt that it makes him want to throw up. But he gets what Canada is. Canada is nothing but a corporation, the same as the United States, the same as every other country. But you know, Rick is a rare bird. You know, he's not a man of political political correctness, nor am I. Don't go there, folks. We are both the kind of guys, and Michael Schmidt, who I appreciate knowing, a milk farmer, who's been bastardized for over 20 years, for milk. Let's see, milk is a natural product, comes out of a cow's teat. And hemp, cannabis, marijuana, is a natural plant that grows on the earth. Now you think about that. He can't distribute milk, and you get caught growing some plants in your yard, they're going to come down on you like a ton of bricks. Just give that a little bit of thought and understand what the hell we're living under and why it has to change. I don't think, Ron, do you think cannabis should be illegal or legal? I don't think it should be legal or legal because it's already lawful. Now, if you don't understand the difference between legal and law, by this point in time, you best go do some reading. Okay? Legal and law are like oil and water. They cannot be mixed. You can stir them around all you want. One has absolutely nothing whatsoever to do with the other. Legal is a corporate bylaw, if you will, because your government is a corporation posing as a government. The legal system is a corporate system of law, but it isn't even law, okay? I've been through this with the Law Society of Upper Canada. They agree with me that legal is totally different than law. One has nothing whatsoever to do with the other. And I've been through it with the Attorney General's office. They agree finally that legal and law are like oil and water. You can stir them up all you want, but legal ain't law, and law ain't legal. Weed, like milk, has always been lawful. Legal is used to tell you can't do something. Okay, but that's the corporation telling you can't do something. Law states totally different. Yeah, exactly. Fuck the government. I don't like to swear on this show, but we got to get our heads screwed on straight, because if we don't, well, our children and grandchildren aren't going to have a pleasant. Not what I planned on doing tonight. I want to thank Mike for calling in. Good every now and then. We're back here tonight at 7 o'clock. Chat, yeah, bit of chat. Just plug in my and slide on over.